Imagine waking up to a sound so loud it shakes the walls of your city, a sound no one in your world has ever heard before. April 1453. The walls of Constantinople, the most fortified city on earth, begin to crack. For 1,000 years, this city stood unconquered. It survived plagues, crusades, and waves of invaders. But in just 53 days, everything changed. And here's the crazy part, it wasn't just a city that fell. An entire era died with it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the fall of Constantinople didn't just end an empire, it ended the Middle Ages and launched the modern world. Let's step inside the final days of a civilization. Constantinople wasn't just another medieval city. It was the beating heart of the Byzantine Empire, the last surviving piece of the Roman Empire. Think about that. When Rome fell in 476, Constantinople didn't blink. It kept Roman law, Roman architecture, Roman identity alive for nearly another 1,000 years. Its massive Theodosian walls were legendary triple-layered defenses stretching for miles across land. Armies had tried. Armies had failed. And yet by 1453, the empire had shrunk to basically the city itself and a few scraps of territory. It was like a once mighty lion reduced to guarding a single cave. But here is where it gets interesting. The biggest threat wasn't inside the walls. It was outside and armed with something the medieval world wasn't ready for. Meet Mehmed II. 21 years old. Obsessed with one goal: capture Constantinople. He wasn't just chasing glory. He understood geography. The city controlled the Bosporus Strait, the gateway between Europe and Asia. Whoever held it controlled trade, power, and prestige. Mehmed didn't just bring an army. He brought engineers. And one weapon that would change warfare forever: gunpowder. A Hungarian engineer named Orban built Mehmed a monster, a cannon so massive it needed dozens of oxen to move it. This wasn't your average medieval siege engine. This thing fired 600-pound stone balls. Imagine a bowling ball the size of a small car smashing into a wall designed in the 5th century. The Theodosian walls had been built to stop arrows, catapults, ladders, not explosions. When the cannons roared, it wasn't just stone breaking. It was the end of castle supremacy. Gunpowder had arrived in Europe before, sure. But this was proof that no wall was invincible anymore. And that realization would ripple across centuries. But Constantinople wasn't going down quietly. Inside the city stood Constantine XI Palaiologos, the final Roman emperor. He had maybe 7,000 defenders. Mehmed had up to 80,000 troops. Do the math. Constantine XI knew reinforcements from Western Europe weren't coming in time. The Crusades had fractured Christian unity. Politics trumped survival. But instead of fleeing, he chose to stay. He fought on the walls, sword in hand. That decision would turn him into legend. But here's the twist most people miss. The fall of Constantinople wasn't just about cannons and courage. It was about innovation. The Byzantines blocked the Ottoman navy with a giant chain across the Golden Horn harbor. Genius move. So Mehmed did something insane. He rolled his ships over land. Using logs as tracks, Ottoman forces dragged dozens of ships across hills and dropped them behind the chain, inside the harbor. Imagine waking up and seeing enemy warships where water didn't exist yesterday. Psychological warfare at its finest. The message was clear: adaptation beats tradition. And Constantinople was running out of both time and options. Then came May 29, 1453. Before dawn, waves of Ottoman troops attacked. Cannons had weakened the walls. Breaches formed. The defenders fought desperately. Hand-to-hand combat. Chaos. Smoke. Fire. At some point during the fighting, Constantine XI disappeared into the battle. His body was never definitively identified. With that, the Roman Empire founded in 27 BCE officially ended. Let that sink in. An empire that lasted nearly 1500 years died in a single morning. And here's why this matters to you today. Historians often point to 1453 as the symbolic end of the Middle Ages. Why? Because gunpowder made feudal castles obsolete. Knights in shining armor? Less effective against cannon fire. Power began shifting from feudal lords to centralized states that could afford gunpowder armies. And there's more. When the city fell, many Greek scholars fled west to places like Italy, bringing ancient manuscripts with them. Those texts helped ignite the Renaissance. So in a strange twist, the fall of a Christian empire helped fuel Europe's rebirth. But the consequences didn't stop there. With the Ottomans now controlling key trade routes between Europe and Asia, European kingdoms faced a problem. Spices, silk, trade goods, all more expensive and tightly controlled. So what did they do? They looked for a new route. That search led to explorers like Christopher Columbus sailing west in 1492. And just like that, the age of exploration began. You could argue that without 1453, the Americas might not have been discovered when they were. A single siege reshaped global history. After the conquest, Mehmed II transformed the city into the capital of the Ottoman Empire. It would later become known as Istanbul. The city didn't vanish. It evolved. Churches became mosques. Trade flourished again. The city became a powerhouse bridging continents. History didn't stop. It pivoted. Here's the real takeaway. The fall of Constantinople proves that technology plus vision can overturn even a 1,000-year legacy. The Middle Ages didn't end quietly, they were blasted apart by innovation. If this changed how you see history, you'll love diving into the rise of the Ottoman Empire next. Hit like if you learned something new, subscribe for more deep dive stories like this, and I'll see you in the next chapter of history.